This is Larry Lawton, and he's an ex-jewel thief.
Not thief, I was a robber. Thief sounds like you went in that person's house and robbed it. I just went with a gun right to their face.
Larry's a former career criminal, once considered the biggest jewel thief in the United States.
In 7 years, I robbed between $15 and $18 million and then served 12 years in federal prison. And today I'm going to break down what's right and wrong in some of Hollywood's great movie heists. I've known people who are very wealthy who want something, but they don't do it themselves. They hire other people to do it.
Are you trying to imply that I had something to do with that painting?
Trying.
No way. Well, would you go, if you were worth $10 million, would you go rob something? If you got $10 million in your house, what are you going to rob another million for and go to prison? That just doesn't make sense. It's for the thrill. Thrill? Off more. Rob something you can get rid of. If I robbed right now a truckload of Apple Watches, I can get rid of them tomorrow. If I robbed a truckload of Picassos, how am I going to get rid of them? Can't. I'll take the Apple Watches over the Picassos any day. It's not worth it. You have to be able to sell it. The only way you can do something like that is find someone who wants something specific. You set a price for it and then steal it. Other than that, stay away. You're better off robbing hubcaps. That's the truth. Listen, I robbed people. I used to rob drug dealers. I used to tie them all up. Would walk out with $1 million in cash and the dope. So, I mean, I was a bad guy all around, but I don't do that anymore.
What's the matter with you, son? You got caught smoking pot. Your grades are slipping. You got caught stealing. You think this is a joke? What's going on in your life? What are you doing? You think what kind of college you think you're gonna go to? This is no joke, son!
What's the matter with you? Are you a moron? I'm 82 years old. Why are you hollering at me that way? Hey, quit spitting on me.
You know what you did is wrong, right?
Yes.
Hopefully you'll learn from this.
It did get worse. Larry was thrown into solitary confinement for over a year. But in the hole, Larry made a friend by communicating through a vent. It was his daily sanity until the friendship abruptly ended.
So we're actually just talking, and he turns and says to me, "Hey, Larry, I love you, brother. I'm checking out." And I looked and I said, where are you going? You're in the hole with me. And it hit me. It hit me that he was going to kill himself. I jumped up and I talked right into the vent. And I said, "Jack, lay down. We'll talk about it after count." And then I felt total helplessness. I couldn't help this guy. I couldn't get to his cell. I couldn't go through the wall and help him.
When the guards came through to count the inmates, Larry was afraid of what they might find in Jack's cell.
Man down, man down. 1F, I need immediate assistance.
The guards all come running, and I'm standing at my door looking at all these people come running. They go into Jack's cell, they bring him out, and he was on a gurney, and that was the end of it.
Larry's friend Jack had killed himself.
It's like a punch in the stomach. It's a punch that you can't feel, but you feel in your heart because you get close to people. I just laid down and I was sitting there and I wasn't crying. I was in shock.
That night, Larry thought back on lessons about Jesus he had learned as a child, and he prayed to God.
And I'm saying, why am I here? Why not me? Why didn't I kill myself? And I heard God tell me, "I have plans for you." I heard the words, "I have plans for you." People think you're crazy, and I'm not. I heard those words, "I have plans for you." And at that point, I knew Jesus Christ was mine. I knew Jesus Christ was going to be in my life forever. I knew I had a purpose, that God had a mission for me.
When Larry got out of prison 2 years later, he started an outreach called Reality Check. He speaks to at-risk teens about the dangers and the consequences of crime. Reality Check is rapidly becoming one of the most successful teen programs in the nation.
I was in Florida. I was in South Florida, and we were at a place called Flicks. And my buddy Ernie owned it. So we're in Flicks, and we're up in a high roller area, kind of high roller you call, where the tables are and stuff. You sit down, your champagne rooms, they call them now, but it's the high play area. So we're sitting up there, and we knew a couple of girls up there. And there's another guy in that area, and he's really talking and really disrespecting this girl I knew up there. And I don't know who he is, so I go up to him, and he looked at me, and boom, I hit him. bam. He kind of rocks and goes back, and he goes, Ernie owned the place, splits us up, and the guy's going, I'll fucking kill you. And yeah, you're in our place in South Florida, and you're going to kill us. So, but Ernie says, we're going to put you in a 55-gallon drum, motherfucker. Get in the back. We're going to get out of here. Get out of here. I forget about it, what do I know? So I'm back in Brooklyn. I'm at the home stretch, and it's a Saturday, a bunch of people around, and in comes this guy that I hit, and another guy. I don't know him. He notices me, sees me down at the end with a whole bunch of our guys, and he goes, I'm going to kill him. And I'm like, who is this guy? It dawned on me, it's the guy I hit. I always had a pistol on me. So I'm like, what's going on? And then everybody's screaming, and he's coming around. Our guy's like, what? They don't know who he is. But Willie knows who he is. So Willie goes, whoa, what's going on? And this guy says, this guy disrespected me. I was in Florida. And the story comes out. I'm like, what the hell? Willie goes, hold on. He calls me in the back. He actually calls me into like the storage room. He goes, Larry, what happened? I said, Willie, what do you mean what happened? I'm in South Florida. The guy's an asshole. He was bullshit with a girl. And he was real disrespectful. I hit him. Willie goes, man, well, we got some problems now. And I'm like, oh, shit, what's going on? He goes, all right. He goes, I got to call Dominic. So Dominic lived in Jersey. So Willie goes, clear it out. And the whole bar clears out onto Kings Highway. It's right off Kings Highway and West 10th is the home stretch. So everybody, there's got to be about 30, 40 guys out in the street. And they're just waiting there. But I'm in the bar sitting at one end, way long. It's a long bar. I'm at the end with Joey. I kept Joey with me. And Joey did the drugs. I did the robberies. And we were up-and-coming guys. And this guy's on the other end with his friend. And I could feel the venom. And I'm like telling Joey, man, I got to kill this guy, Joey. I got to kill him. I don't give a fuck. I got to kill this guy, man. What the fuck? I didn't know all this shit. And he goes, man, calm down, you psycho. All of this. In comes Dominic. Dominic's this little 5'7" guy. He comes all the way from Jersey. He had a parking spot right in front of the home stretch. No one could park there. That was his spot. It's a metered and all that, but that didn't matter. People knew that was his spot. So he comes in, walks up, he talks to Willie for a few minutes, and I'm sitting there, looks at me, gives me the finger, and he come over. I go to the back again. I explain to him the same story I do to Willie. And Dominic goes, I'm going to try to quash this. This guy's a made man. He goes, and this is going to be rough, but you got to apologize and all that. And I said, of course, Dom, whatever you want. I'm just thinking I was going to get killed, and I'm still worried, So Dominic brings me up to the front of the bar. He talks to the guy. He says, listen. I said, man, sir, I'm sorry. I really didn't know who you are. I says, I didn't mean any disrespect to you. And he's still me. I don't give a shit. I'm a kid. And now he's with Dominic. Now Dominic's a powerful guy. Dominic used to go to Paul Castellano's house. I used to go with him. Paul Castellano's house was the White House in Staten Island. They called it the White House. It looked like the White House with the big stanchions, and it's up on Toad Hill in Staten Island. So Dominic gets mad, leaves, gets on the phone. Very rarely touches the phone in this place, but no one ever says a few words, comes back and says, get out of here. Anything happens to this kid, you won't make 6 o'clock tonight. I'll never forget. And I'm like, holy shit, what happened? The guy got so pissed, he didn't know what to do. Of course, he ain't messing with Dominic, especially in our land. He leaves. All the guys come back in, and we're all having drinks. I'm feeling like $1 million. And I think back about that, and I go, man, all that mob stuff, you know what it's about? Money. I made a lot of money for a lot of people, and that's all they care about. That is what being, kind of connected meant. That's why you needed to be connected. It was crazy, all that kind of stuff. So then, talk about loyalty and then getting back more and more powerful with the mob. I had the pizzeria. I had a pizzeria down in South Florida, Lenny's Pizzeria. I named it Lenny after my father-in-law. It was Lenny's Pizzeria. It was in a plaza. So I said, I'm making money on hot diamonds. I'm going back and forth to New York. I'm saying, what am I doing at a pizzeria? Too much work. So what do I do? Brainstorm I do? I said, I'm going to burn this place down. I'm going to get the insurance. So one time, I'm in the pizzeria and I take a lighter, just a regular lighter, and try to see it, just to see if it would have lit. it gave a little mark on it, but it's got those like those fire resistant sealant, drop sealants. It doesn't go up, but there's a mark. I don't think anything of it. I say, okay, I can't go anything like that. I said, okay, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go hang out with a couple that we know, my wife and I. She don't know what's going on, but we're gonna go hang out and go for drinks in a jacuzzi on a Sunday night. It's usually we used to close early. And we're gonna go in there, and at that time, I'm gonna light the place on fire. It had an alarm. They're gonna call me, and I'm gonna come and do all the, oh, my pizza race is gone. Pizza. So we do that. I end up, I light a fire in the garbage can that's against the wall going into the back. Lock the place up real quick. Go. My wife doesn't know anything that's going on. We go to our couple's house. We're there. We're in the jacuzzi. We're hanging out for hours. No beep. You get the beepers. I'm getting no beep. I'm saying, what's going on? Why no beep? And I didn't know what was going on. So on the way home, about midnight, I pass the pizzeria and it's dark. Nothing. No fire or anything. So I open up the pizzeria, I go in, and sure enough, the fire went up the wall, but it went out on its own. Just went out on its own. And I said, oh man. So I said, I got mad. I ended up lighting the pizza boxes that were stacked. So I light the pizza boxes, come out, close the door, go home, and all of a sudden, 15 minutes later, my beeper goes off, the phone's going off, your place is on fire. I go down, oh my God, my place is on fire, oh my God. And the firefighters are putting out, I end up burning the whole plaza down. The whole plaza. I end up burning a barbecue joint, an insurance joint, the 7-Eleven was next to us, so that didn't burn down, but there was 4 stores that was right down the whole place, and I burned all 4. They all made money. They actually told me later they were happy because they made money after I burned. I never got my insurance money. They knew it was arson, but they didn't know it was me. They couldn't prove it was me. They knew it was me. They tried to get me, but even my wife was loyal. She never said a word, didn't know anything. My both wives were great. I'll never say a bad word about them ever. So that's what loyalty, I look back and I was loyal and I learned a lot about life and loyalty from certain things. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say the mob life was the great life, but there were some principles that you can follow and things that were pretty good. So I look at that in a positive way. Although what I did was wrong, I look at that in a positive way. We try to open a tent. We don't do the open a tent, but we had a grill. So we had a grill, and what happens? And a raccoon steals my hamburger right off the grill. I wasn't going to stand for that. I ended up getting that raccoon with a 9-iron and ended up feeding it to their alligators. Another question. What's non-jewelry thing you saw that you wanted to keep for yourself during a heist? Well, that's funny, that's really a pretty good question. Whenever I went into a jewelry store and I robbed a jewelry store, I took a clock. I know it sounds crazy, but I took a clock. Like they'd have like an antique clock. I'm talking the small ones, not like a big piece, of course. Small one, or a different kind of clock that was in there. It could be like a designer clock with a little bell in it or something. And I always took those clocks, and I don't know why I took those clocks, but I did. And it's something I think about often now. And I said, why did I steal a clock? But it's something I did do. I take out an area downstairs. I put a pool table. I put a 9-foot bar with a stereo system that went throughout my house back then. I had 5 different zones that you could party. I had a 3-man jacuzzi in the back. And the parties I used to throw fests. And when I say like orgies, man, I was pretty crazy. I had a lot of fun. And it was crazy. I'd have 9 women and 3 men in a jacuzzi, all naked. So I take my Cadillac, I'm pretty drunk, and I drive it up on one of those curbs, the big things where it stops the wheels, those big things. So I go in drinking, I'm half wrapped, everybody knows me in there, and I come out of the bar, and I get in my car, and I can't get my car to come over this thing. I'm drunk. This is how crazy I was. I take a pistol out, and I shoot my own car. 3 shots into the hood of the car. I go put my gun back in my holster. I had a holster, side holster. I put it back and go drinking at the bar. All of a sudden, 15 minutes later, there's 4 guns pointing at me. It's cops from the area. So I come back, and I still have a privatized license. You know, I have that license, so I was allowed to have a gun. I didn't do anything that bad yet. Back then, you could still have a gun. And what do? I fucking get arrested. Never forget, I get arrested. And next day I go to pick up, I get bailed out by my parents, actually. My mom and dad came and get me at 4 in the jail here in Melbourne, Florida. So I'm back down south. I go down south, and I'm just living a crazy, crazy life. And so for that incident, when I got with shooting up the car, they arrested me. They end up charging me with discharging a gun in the city limits, because I had a license for the gun, but they end up charging me for that. So, of course, I have a lawyer. I come up here, and we all got it set up. The lawyer says, we got this. So what do? I get a hat. I rent a Hatteras boat with a captain that I did before, a couple of buddies of mine, and 2 hookers. So this is a great story, because I learned something about the court system right then and there. We're waiting. I got the Hatteras. My buddy's got food and booze, and the broads are on the boat waiting for me. The minute I'm done with court, we're going out fishing. So here I am. I get on in the courthouse, and here it is. It's 9 o'clock, and I'm asking my lawyer. We're first up. I said, "What's going on? Where is he?" And I brought my lawyer from Fort Lauderdale. He goes, "Larry, it's soon." I go, "Man, it's 9 o'clock. The judge is late." He goes, "No, it's not 9 o'clock. I go, "Bullshit, it's 9:20. Now it's 9:30. I'm getting mad. Where the fuck is this judge?" He goes, "Larry, calm down." So he goes, "Let me tell you something. It's not 9 o'clock until that judge walks in the room." Meaning, you got no say. These judges run everything. Sure enough, judge runs everything. I get 5 years probation and some little bullshit fine. So my lawyer and I head down to go to the boat. Now the Hatteras is a beautiful 60-foot Hatteras. We're going fishing. I got these 2 hookers on the boat, and the owner of the boat is on there. Now the captain who captains the boat is the guy that I know, and I give him a big tip. He knows me, and I used him before. So the owner's trying to show me the boat. "Oh, look at the new stuff I put around the tram." And I said, "Get the fuck off the boat." And he looked at me. I said, "Get the fuck off this boat. I read this. I'll throw you in the fucking water." The captain runs down off the bridge, says, whatever his name was. "Hey, I got him. He's a good customer," whatever. So we get going. By the time we cleared the bridge to go to the ocean from the intercoastal waterway, the 2 broads were naked on the back of the boat. And my buddy and I are in a fighting chair and another chair, drinks. And we're looking at these 2 hot broads. Talk about crazy. I sent the girls up to give the captain a blowjob and everything. Funny, I catch a fish. I'm in the fighting chair. And I had a fish hooked. I caught something. And I'm screaming for help. Nobody's around. The captain, everybody's down below in a fucking mini orgy down in the fucking cabin. And I'm fucking... The fish I get in, it was half eaten by either a barracuda or a shark. Whatever I caught was half eaten. It was crazy. "Sir Aubrey, get down, get down!" So he gets down, and obviously gets down. I take the flex cuffs out, flex cuffs him up. My partner comes right in. He knows to come in after a few seconds. He knows, the guy kind of knows when. So he comes in, he flex, he gets in, we start emptying the store. The guy's now cuffed behind the counter, in the back counter, behind the counter, in between the safe. Now I'm back there cleaning out the safe. So I'm cleaning out his safe, and 5 guns I find. 5 guns. I put them in the bag. I got my pillowcase. I'm getting other stuff out of the safe. My partner's getting everything out. I look, and I see a lady come right up to the window and go like that. She holds her hand over the window to cup it to see it, because you couldn't see it if you didn't do that. And I know we're made right away. So I scream, we're made, let's go. And we jump up, we get ready, we're going out. I'm heading out the door, and what do I hear? Pop, pop, pop. Glass goes flying right next to me. The guy's shooting at us. How does he have a gun? I got 5 guns in my bag. He's shooting at me, bang, bang. And we ducking, and we run out the door, jump in the car. The car is pulled straight into the business. We had a fake plate on it. The same MO I normally do. So the car is in there, pulled in. I jump in the seat. As I jump in the seat, we threw the jewelry right in the back seat. Boom, jumped in, got in. Partner gets in, jumps in. The guy levels a gun. He comes running out. He levels a gun right at my head when I'm at the steering wheel. As he levels that gun, I duck. I duck like that, and the shot goes off. It comes right through the windshield, comes in, it goes through, skims my head. My partner lays down on the in between the seat, the two seats, and he lays down, and a bullet goes through his back, because he was laying down. It goes through his back and into his arm, and he screams, "I'm hit!" I felt the burn from the thing, and I didn't. The adrenaline was going so far. I go, "I'll take you to hospital. He says, "No. Let's get to Brooklyn." Now he goes, he's hit now. He knows he's hit. He don't know how bad. He just knows he's hit. So now here I got a bullet hole dead center of the windshield of the car. How do you get through? I know I got to go through tolls on the Jersey Turnpike, and I got to go through a toll going into the Turnpike from Pennsylvania. I'm in Pennsylvania. I got to go to Brooklyn. It's about an hour and a half ride. So what do? I see a 18-wheeler up ahead. I pull up straight close to the 18-wheeler, right in the back of the 18-wheeler. So the 18-wheeler goes. I pull up real fast, past the booth. Now the booth is on the side of me. The front windshield is past me. And I'm giving the person the money. I had the money all set and everything ready. I go to give the money in, and I hear on the radio in the toll booth, "Be on the lookout for a late model," and they gave the color of my car, but I could see that the toll booth person wasn't paying attention. I give the money, and that's it, and I take off. So I'm gone already. Now, I knew that it's here. If I went 3 minutes after what happened there's no way they would have been on the lookout for that car coming through and all that kind of stuff. I would have been caught right then and there. Or it would have been a chase, and what would have happened, I don't know. So here I am, we're going to Brooklyn. We go, and I got a bullet hole right in my thing. What do you do? Well, the rent-a-car I had was from Florida. Now, if the rent-a-car was from New York, in New York City, and I think even Pennsylvania, they put a registration in the left corner of the car is where they stick the registration. So then you're done. If you change the windshield, you got to change that sticker. So anyway, we don't have that problem. We get to Brooklyn. Now, I don't know that I have blood trickling down my head right here. I looked in the mirror, but you couldn't see it because it was like on the side, and you couldn't see it in the mirror, and you're paying attention. And my brother's hit. He's hit, and he's got the bullet in him. So we get to the home stretch bar. We pull up to the home. We race into the bar. We go up to the second apartment on the second floor. We had an apartment there that we used to play cards with and stuff like that. And there was an old lady on the third floor. But we had the second floor apartment. And so here we are. We get in there and we get cleaned up. Now what are we going to do? Well, first thing to do is we send the car to Brooklyn Auto Glass. Brooklyn Auto Glass, connected joint. Go down to Brooklyn. They don't question anything. I'm going to go. First, we clean up my brother and clean me up. I'm all right. I just have a scratch through my head. It was like a grazed thing. Another 2 inches, I'm dead. They would have blown my brains out. But I didn't have, luckily, didn't get hit. So my brother gets hit, and mine is a scratch. His is clean. I had a scratch right there. His is in him, but he says he's all right, and he's hurting, and it's blood all over here. Change his clothes, do all of that. And I go with the car to Brooklyn Auto Glass because I got all that jewelry in the car. And now it's in the trunk. We transferred from the back seat into the trunk. So it's in the trunk. It's now in there. And we go to Brooklyn Auto Glass. They don't ask questions. They see a bullet. They don't care what it is. They're getting their money. They go change a windshield. So they do that. And now what are we going to do? Okay, so I said, we got to take care of my brother. I called down to Florida. And Uncle Louie, my buddy Uncle Louie, is associated with the Raymond Patriarca crew out of Rhode Island. Well, he used to hang out at the track in Melbourne, Florida, the racetrack. So I call him, and he goes, I'll look around. I'll get somebody, because we need a doctor to take care of him or somebody to take care of my brother. You can't go to the police station. Can't go to a hospital. I mean, you can't go anywhere. So you go to a doctor's office, forget it. They're going to report a gunshot. So he calls back, and he says, yeah, I got somebody. He says, I got a veterinarian. I'm building a house. Actually, a funny story. The house he was building was a judge's house. That's really funny. But he's building a house, and so he goes, well, we can bring him to that house. We'll put up 2 sawhorses. We'll put a board down, and we can do the operation there and get it. This is how crazy we're thinking back then. So we can get him back to Florida. This is pre 9/11. So you don't have any IDs. You can buy a ticket for cash on an airplane, and they don't even question. You could use any name, go up to a cash right at the counter, give them $250, whatever the flight was at that time, and they'll give you a ticket, and that's it. No question anything. They don't do anything like that back before 9/11. So we get him on the plane. He's going back, and I think, wait a minute, I can't do this. I can't do this. I call my mother. My mother's a nurse, and she worked at a nurse, like a clinic here. She's been a nurse forever. She was up in Westchester Square Hospital in the Bronx, New York, and she was a pretty good nurse. She worked emergency room, CCU, all of that. So what we do, my mom takes I said, Mom, Davey got shot. We were playing with guns in the bar, and I can't go to the police. You know I got a record. I said, so I can't go to the police. We can't go to a regular hospital. So you just got to take care of Davey. She agrees, reluctantly. My mother's the straightest woman you'll ever want to meet. So she reluctantly agrees, and she takes care of my brother. He gets down here. She gets penicillin. She gets the gauze. She gets stuff. Thank God we didn't go to a veterinarian, because my brother might have lost his arm. He could have, a veterinarian would have cut into all of the muscles and everything up there, and it would have got pretty bad, and he didn't do that, thank God. And my mom took care of him, got the penicillin, got everything done. He gets taken care of. To this day, still got that bullet in him right there. He gets the bullet in him. So he's taken care of. I ended up calling my wife, Missy. I said, come on up. I want you to drive back with me. And she comes up. I get quick money for the stuff. I come back about 70 grand. I didn't get much. And I take all the stuff. I get all that, and I head back to Florida. Now, on the way back from Florida, on the way back to Florida from New York, what do? I stop about on 95 in Florida at a rest stop. I remembered the rest stop, and I took the bag of guns, and I threw them in a lake. I didn't want to get caught with guns. No matter what you do, you never want to get caught with guns. I threw the bag of guns, 5 guns, into a lake at a rest stop. One lady says, yes, we had a guy. Now, this is not the store I robbed. A lady says, no, there was a guy who came in with that MO, and I got his license plate number. So the cop said, okay, who was it? She gave the plate number. Sure enough, they run the plate number. Well, the plate number's not registered to me. It's registered to Fat Tony. Tony was my neighbor who did my bookmaking stuff. Great guy. And he didn't do anything about robberies. He knew what I did, but he didn't, know exactly anything. Never knew a robbery. Never was on a robbery. Didn't know the people involved in a robbery at the New York end or anything like that. So they look him, and he's heavy. He's about 325 pounds, 350 pounds. So I'm not that heavy. So they looked in, they go, this is not the guy. But I was a co-driver. And, being she got my plate number, and she got the real plate, because when I case stores, I didn't change plates. I'd use them right, because if you ever get stopped, you don't ever want to have a fake plate on a car. So anyway, sure enough, she had got the right plate, and I was a co-driver, so they ran my name. They come back with the case from New Jersey, organized crime connections. I said, oh, boom, they got me. Then they started showing my picture around. Sure enough, that's him. So at about 20 jewelry robberies, about 20 of them, they went to. Four robberies said 100% that's the guy. I'll testify that that's the guy. The other people said 95% of it is him. I'm 95% sure it's him, but not 100% on all the other robberies. So they couldn't pin those on me. Although I ended up admitting to those robberies, and later I ended up taking a plea off. I'll explain that in a second here. So anyway, I don't know this, so here we are. I'm down in South Florida. They started putting it all together. I'm golfing one day. I'll never forget, it was a Monday. I go golfing, and Monday afternoons, I used to have my crew from Central Florida come down, get some bookmaking sheets and all that kind of stuff, and go back to North Florida and run the bookmaking. I was running some operations up there for illegal gambling. So they come down. I'll never forget, I went golfing, and my wife said to me during the day, like 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, she said, I thought I was fouled today. I said, I think you're just dreaming. You weren't followed. But it put it in my head. Maybe somebody was following. And then I'm thinking, who is it? Is it the cops? Is it the other mob family wanting to get money from me, try to take me hostage, do something? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking crazy. But I call a friend and I say, come to the house and get all the guns out of the house. Any gun that I had in the house. He comes, he takes the guns out of the house. Now I got nothing in the house. I'm okay. I didn't care in case it was the cops. Sure enough, about 5 o'clock that afternoon, it's a Monday. I lived in a cul-de-sac. So you had to go out to the end of the cul-de-sac before you come in to get the mail. So my wife, Missy, takes my 15-month-old daughter, Ashley, in her arms, and she goes out. And now I'm sitting at a desk that I had off the kitchen area. I have a desk where I was doing the paperwork, and these guys had a 9-foot bar in the back there, and they're sitting at the bar. I have stuff there. I actually had other stuff there, a little cocaine, little weed there, bookmaking stuff, all that. All of a sudden, I hear her say, "They're coming, they're coming!" And I jump out of my chair, and the door flies open, and they got guns in my face. Whoa, I turn around, I looked in my back patio. They're coming through my back patio with all the gear and all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, this is a crazy thing. I hear the helicopter overhead. It's just a crazy scene. So they bring everybody out of the house. I'll never forget, I had $3,000 in my pocket. I had expensive Rolex. I had all that kind of watch and jewelry on. And I'm sitting on the curb, and the cops were good. They look at everybody's ID there. Sure enough, Davey was there. It was in a rob, but they don't have a warrant for him. They only have a warrant for me. And they have a warrant for Tony, Fat Tony. They ended up arresting Fat Tony, too. I didn't notice he was away from the thing. So the cop, it was the FBI, it was marshals and FBI. And they were pretty nice. The FBI agent, I said, "Hey, listen, can I leave my sneakers? Because I know about sneakers in jail. Can I leave my nice sneakers and some money and stuff for my wife?" And he goes, "Yeah, go ahead." I gave her the money. I had about $3,000 cash. They didn't care. They had anything. They did search the house. They only had a warrant for me and any large sums of money, jewelry, or jewelry paraphernalia, like scales and stuff like that for jewelry making. That's the only warrant they had. They never even touched the marijuana. They never touched the coke or the little bookmaking stuff on the thing. They didn't care. They just didn't care. So they wanted me. They got me. Heading down, they take me in the back of a car, and they send me to Opelika. I go to Opelika, Florida, where they had a new FBI, like, with all this special fingerprint stuff, now it's normal, but you put your hand in and it had 4 points and it all done automatically. It wasn't those like rolling fingerprint stuff. So they do all of that. They get me down there, and who do I see down there? I see Fat Tony. Now I'm thinking, I hope he just shuts up. Not that he know any. I don't know what they have yet. And he did. He said, "Hey, listen, all I do is rent the car for him. He's my neighbor. And he has no credit card, so he asked me if I can rent a car." And that's exactly what I said. So that worked out well. And they let him go. And they got me. So now what do? They take me. They got me. I don't know how big it is yet. And they take me down to the Federal Holding Detention Center in Miami. It's called the FDC Miami. They send me to FDC Miami. I'm on the 7th floor. And don't know what's going on yet. I called my lawyer. I said, okay, I had a quick hearing. So here's the hearing, and I think I'm going to get bail. My thought was, let me get bail. If I get bail, I'm running. I'm gone. I'm going to go to Costa Rica. I know enough people. I can get money, and I can pay off whatever bail that I put up. My dad, who puts up his house or whatever he does, I can get bail. So I'll never forget, in the courtroom is my parents in the back. My wife is in the back with the baby. And this is the next day. You have to have a bail hearing real quick. So within a day or two anyway. So I'm in there, and the lawyer says, there are only 2 reasons you can't get bail. One is you're a flight risk, and the other is you're a threat to the community. It's the only 2 reasons. If you could prove other than that, then you're going to get bail, no matter what the charge. So sure enough, the government makes a case, and my lawyer says, "Your Honor, he's not a flight risk. I had a case with him in New Jersey back a few years ago. We had to fly back and forth. It was on a drug case, and it ended up being minor, but he didn't know that. If he was going to run, he could have run then." Sure enough, so the judge goes, he's not a flight risk. Boy, did the prosecutors panic. They jump up, Your Honor, he's organized crime. He's got connections with organized crime, and he's now a threat to community. We don't want him out there. the judge, man, was thinking about it. I'm thinking, I'm getting bail. I'm getting bail. Even my dad was willing to put up his house, and I would have gave him the money for that, but he was willing to put up his house, and I'm thinking, I'm getting bail, because I knew, let me get out. If I can get out and get on the run, I can get away with this, or at least this crime, because I didn't know how big it was at this time. So anyway, the prosecutors jump up, the judge thinks about it, and I'm thinking, I'm gonna get bail. And she was it a female or a male? I forget. He says, no. He goes, he is a threat, danger to the community, and no bail. I said, oh, no bail. So now I'm sitting in my holding cell, in the holding cell, FDC, 7th floor. All of a sudden, at about 2:30 in the morning, maybe a little less, 2 o'clock in the morning, they come get me. Lawton, cuff up. When that means cuff up, you have to cuff up, and you go downstairs, and they process me, and they transfer me. This is this. They transfer me, and I don't know where I'm going. No calls, no nothing, no paperwork, nothing. You just go. So they take me, and they put me on an airplane, and they send me to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Now, I'm going to Fairless Hills. I'm going to actually 6th and Market in downtown Philadelphia is where the federal courthouse is. And that's where I'm going. And Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Okay, you think they get me off there and bust me over? No. The next flight, they take me all the way to, like, Rhode Island, up in that area. They take me off the plane up in Rhode Island. They start bussing me down from Rhode Island all the way to Pennsylvania. Don't ask me why. They didn't take me off there. This is the federal transportation system for the Marshals. It's called the U.S. Marshals. They run the federal planes for transporting inmates. And it's unbelievable operations. Those people you don't play with either. They don't mess around. So here we are. The Marshals get me there, and now they're taking me in a van all the way from Rhode Island. I stay at a county jail in New York. Then I stay at a county, this is the next day, county jail. Next day, last day I was in Elizabeth County Jail in New Jersey. What a scumhole. So I'm in this county jail. Now, this is about 3 days now. I haven't had a meal. The meal consisted of a bag with an apple, crackers. You'd look if there'd be a bologna sandwich in there, and like a little pint of, jungle juice or something like that. So I'm in there, and I have nothing to do. I am smelling, no shave, nothing. So we go in and we report. So we go in front of the magistrate. And the magistrate judge says, I said, Your Honor, can I speak first? Now, people are waiting. They have other people, inmates, that are coming from wherever to go in front of the judge, from county jails or wherever. This young lawyer comes up and says, I'm going to represent you. And I'm looking, who is this guy? He was some public defender just going to represent you for the hearing. And I said, you ain't representing me. I got a lawyer. I said to the judge, I said, hey, Your Honor, can I say something here? And she says, yes. She was a lady. I'll never forget her. So she says, sure. I said, Your Honor, I haven't had a hot meal. Haven't really ate. I haven't had a shower. I smell. Everybody's laughing. I says, I was kidnapped. I have no idea. I have an attorney, but I don't know what this guy wants. The judge is this is a federal judge. They don't play. Federal judge looks at the marshals and says, Marshal, is this true? Marshal says, Your Honor, we just picked him up at the county jail, so we don't know anything. So the marshal goes, the judge says, we're going to stop this hearing. He'll be back tomorrow. I want this man to have a hot meal. I want him to make a phone call, and I want him to get where he's going immediately. And I mean now. And these marshals jump. They don't play, marshals. So federal judges don't play, and the marshals knew that. So sure enough, I go down to 6th and Market, it is in Philadelphia. I go downstairs, and there's signs all over the wall. No inmate phone calls, no calls by any. Here they had to give me the phone. I'll never forget, they went and got me a Philly cheesesteak. Never forget that. Down in Philadelphia, I'm in Philadelphia, and they got me a Philly cheesesteak. I'm eating a Philly cheesesteak. Made a phone call, and I made a phone call, not even to my lawyer. I made a phone call to my wife to get to my lawyer and all that kind of stuff. So then they take me to a place called Fairless Hills, not Fairless Hills, that's with a robbery, Farrington, New Jersey. Farrington, New Jersey, there's a federal prison there. But they have what they call a carrot unit. The carrot unit is the unit that the inmates are in orange. Orange means you're pretrial. That's all it means. You're on the yard, you're on the facility, you can walk around, you can do anything you want. Just means you're pretrial. You're not sentenced yet. So here we are, I'm in the carrot unit, and I'm only there a couple of days. I'm waiting for hearings, and my case is just really starting. And I call my wife, and she says, She's hysterical crying, and I mean hysterical. And I gotta remember, she's home. She's a young girl. She has a little baby, and she's saying, "The lawyer called. He needs more money. He said you're facing life. You'll never get out." I am so pissed. You want to talk about pissed? These lawyers. This is why they call them sharks. They catch people when they're down, and what do? They step on their neck. They try to get more money out of them. They do stuff. That's why they call them sharks. They prey on the weak. They prey on people who are in the worst of their situation. I'm not saying don't make money, but there's no way that lawyer should have told my wife she's facing, like, talk to me. You want money? You need something? You want money? It took every bit of energy for me not to explode, and I did. I wanted to kill this guy for a long time, and I ended up cursing him out, doing a whole bunch about that. But I called Dominic. I said, "Hey, Dom," I said, this is what happened. He can't talk per se, but he goes, we can't get involved in this. He just is a friend. He says, call this phone number, and it's an attorney. So I call this attorney, and no money, nothing. And the attorney, says, "Look, send me your stuff." I send him my stuff. He looks at my stuff, and he says, "Hey, listen," he goes, now we're on an attorney-client privilege call, and he says to me, he goes, "Listen," he goes, "you're going away for a long time." He goes, "But you didn't have a gun, did you?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "You didn't have a gun, did you? You used a BB gun, didn't you?" I said, "Yeah, I had a BB gun. I had a BB gun." He goes, "Yeah, well, then you could beat the life sentence." Because how the federal law works in the United States, the federal law, if you have a gun during the commission of a crime, you get 5 years extra. So if they give you 5 years for a robbery, then they give you 5 years for the gun, and that has to run after your time on your sentence. It's called running wild. Not running consecutive or concurrently is what ended up getting. They call it running consecutively, not concurrently. Or in the terminology, it says running wild. So normally your case would be 5 years for a robbery and 5 years for the gun, so you're doing 10 years. Well, in the federal system, it's called the 924C. You end up doing 5 years for the robbery, and then the next robbery you do with a gun, it's 20 years. And then the next robbery, it's 20 years. And then the next robbery, it's 20 years. So for my cases, just the 4 cases I was charged with, not the others, the 4 cases I was charged, I would have got 85 years for the gun, not counting the robbery. I ended up beating the gun charge, but that's what would have happened to me. And I beat the gun charge myself, understanding the law, studying the 924C in the law library. Once he told me you didn't have a gun, I kind of, the light bulb went off. And they could not prove I had a gun. And it was real important. Earlier, remember I told you I threw the guns in the lake? The FBI actually sent a dive team into that lake to get those guns. And as I said, listen, if I had a gun, when a guy is shooting at me, wouldn't I at least shoot back at him so he stops shooting? Wouldn't I even shoot in the air or try to scare him or do something? I said, no, I had a BB gun. So they ended up dropping the 924C. I ended up getting 4 12-year sentences all run concurrently, meaning you got 12 years, 12 years, 12 years, 12 years, but it's all running together, so it goes together. And people always ask me, why do they give a person 3 life sentences? You can't die 3 times. Or why did they give you 12 years 4 times? They're all running together. And the reason they do that is because if you beat a case on appeal, I had 4 charges, so they give you 4 12-year sentences run concurrently, meaning they're all running together. The reason they do that is if I beat one of those cases on appeal, I'm still doing the 12 years. Same with a life sentence guy. If he beats that 1 life sentence, he's going to still do a life sentence because he's got the 2 other charges unless he beats them all. So that's why they do that. That's why they run 3 charges and they'll all say, okay, with 3 life sentences or 5 life sentences or a life sentence plus 50. Because if you beat the life sentence, you're still doing 50 years. So whatever it is, that's why they do those kind of sentences. So I ended up getting 4 12-year sentences because I beat the gun charge, the 924C. If I didn't beat that gun charge, I wouldn't be doing this video right now. You wouldn't even know who I am. So that's why I beat it. And so here I am. I'm the happiest guy. I get 12 years. I ended up getting 4 12-year sentences. I ended up what they call, after I beat the gun charge, I did what they call a proffer. A proffer means they wanted to offer me 3 years. They wanted to offer me 3 years if I would rat on everybody. Rat on Dominic and Willie and everybody in the whole case, but I didn't. I ended up saying a proffer. Proffer means you just talk about what you did and the crime, and that's it. So I told him my partner was John Rodriguez, thinking I'm a slickster. How many John Rodriguezes are in Miami? Got to be a zillion, right? Okay, so they end up investigating. I'll tell you how I know this. They end up investigating John Rodriguez's for forever. And they can't find a John Rodriguez. Okay, that's your partner, John Rodriguez. They accept everything. I go. Little do I know, 5 years later, when I'm in prison, I ended up getting charged with, it's a crime called filing a false statement. It's the exact same charge Bill Clinton got for filing a false statement with Monica Lewinsky. Bill Clinton and I got the exact same charge. That was 5 years later. I ended up running a case, and I'll talk about that later in the book, about what happened with that case. And it's a pretty wild story there. But anyway, so I ended up getting that 12 years, and I'm ready to go. I said, oh, I'm like the happiest dude in the holding cell in federal prison who just got 12 years. 12 years. I didn't get 3. I didn't rat. I wouldn't rat. I ended up getting 12 years in prison, and I'm happy. I'm back in a holding cell, because most of those people are rats. Most of those people don't give a shit, and they're all ratting on each other and stuff and getting 3 years. You should see them come back in the holding cell, which is down below the courtroom, or next to the courtroom. It's down there, and that's where they hold you before you go back to wherever you're staying in the prison system or the county jail system or whatever you're going to be staying at. And you should see all these guys crying like babies. I mean, I laugh at people today. Oh, I'm a tough guy. I'll hang tough and all that. It's all bullshit. I faced the devil. I was facing a life sentence and didn't tell. And it's in my nature. It's not like I said, I don't despise, I do despise rats. I think people should have some kind of honor, at least have a word. At least their word should mean something. And that's how I believe, and I'll always believe that.